Good morning, everyone. What an exciting day it is for us in Rugby League. So we are talking about the growth of the sport. We're talking about Rugby League expanding. We are the #1 sport in Australia and the Pacific. This year alone, we're expanding the NRLW franchises from 10 to 12. And in 2027, we head to Western Australia with the introduction of the Perth Bears as the 18th NRL team. This is an incredibly exciting time for our sport, and there's a lot of excitement all across the country with the growth of the game. I'm joined this morning by the inaugural CEO of the Perth Bears, Anthony de Ceglie, and also, I'm pleased to say, today's announcement, the inaugural coach of the Perth Bears, Mal Meninga. Now, Mal Meninga needs no introduction. He is an immortal, and with that comes an immense contribution to the game as both player and as coach. He has coached more series wins and more wins in matches in Origin than any other person in history. He's a winner on the field, and most importantly, he knows how to build teams, he knows how to build culture, and he knows how to help organisations grow on and off the field. He has the respect of the players, he has the respect of the entire rugby league community. He has achieved immense things for the game as a player, as a coach, and over the last few years as someone who's helped me personally in terms of my philosophy and my approach to dealing with things in rugby league. This is an incredibly exciting time for the game. It's an exciting time for the game because with someone like Mal Meninga leading and coaching this team in a new frontier in Western Australia, we know that we're going to attract not only great players but also the imagination of fans across the country. Happy to take any questions for either Anthony, Mal, or myself.
I guess Mal, firstly, if we can hear from you, get you stuff to the mics. It's been a long time since you've coached in clubland. Why is this the opportunity that made you go back in?
Well, this is bigger than me. This new venture, new pioneering venture over to WA, opportunity to be involved in the growth of the game over there, opportunity to grow a club. The Perth Bears over there is too good to refuse. So I feel very honoured, very nervous. I think it's a huge responsibility, but I believe I'm up for it, and looking forward to working with Anthony and the rest of the rugby league community, not only in WA but also for the North Sydney Bears as well. I think that's a really important connection and bring them along on the journey as well. So very humble. Given this opportunity, like I said, this is bigger than me. It's about the game. It's about the growth of the game in WA, and I want to leave it in a good place. Obviously, the foundations are going to be set in stone, and when I move on, the great club called the Perth Bears will, hopefully be a success and move into the future.
Mal, international football has become bigger than you, thanks in a large part to you. Do you get to remain Australian Kangaroos coach for the upcoming Ashes tour?
Well, the Kangaroos job is a full-time job. Obviously it's not just coaching the team. At the end of the year, there comes with other responsibilities and commitments. So no, I won't be the Australian coach. But from a transition point of view, hopefully, I know that I'll be part of all that. So I appreciate those comments. I love the opportunity to coach the Australian team and help build the international program. But I feel where I sit in my career at the moment, this is a really important gig. This is really a treasured moment in my footy career to actually be part of the Perth Bears.
You mentioned the word transmission.
Transition,
transition, I beg your pardon.
Transmission, I'll start it up. Yeah, okay.
Well, you're five on the floor, that's for sure. Will you have a role in the Ashes tour?
Yet to be decided. It's not my decision, So I made a decision that I want to be part of the Perth Bears, and I want to be, the inaugural coach of that. It's only a 3-year program for me, so we'll see what happens after that. But from my point of view, I think this is a great legacy piece. For me to move away from the game eventually. I've got some great enjoyment out of being involved with the game, a lot of success, and the game's been great for me as well. So I feel this is something that I can help the game with and then move on.
What do you see as some of the biggest challenges in setting up a team in a city that's traditionally been a big AFL stronghold?
Oh, it's huge challenges, but I love challenges, and I know Anthony loves challenges as well, and the game loves challenges. It's all small steps. We'll make sure we build its foundation. We'll give it a strong foundation, and then it's all around the people, and it's all around engaging the community, rugby league community, give it a sense of belonging, give the North Sydney Bears a sense of belonging with all this, and we'll just build momentum over a short period of time. We haven't got long to build the club, but I'm very confident we can do it.
Now, what is first on the agenda for you in building the team?
I think understanding the rugby league community in WA, and I know Anthony can give me a hand there, and it's fantastic that we've got a heritage foundation club like North Sydney Bears, understanding who they are. I think we've got to build it from those pillars. What are the characteristics of a Perth Bear, and go from there. So, but like I said, it's all small steps first. We've got to really understand the community before we can move forward.
How long until you start thinking about players? Because Arthur Forrestall yesterday said he put his hand up.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's fantastic. So I don't think we'll have too many worries about talking to players and to managers about the opportunity to come play in Perth. Getting them over there might be a bit more difficult, but like I say, we've got a story to tell. They need to understand what we're trying to achieve, and that's Anthony and my job initially, and get those right resources and people around us for them to understand what that story is. So we're still in its infancy stage, not quite sure where that story is going to take us, but I feel that we can get there pretty quickly, and then we can look at how we can recruit the people that's important to the organisation, staff and players.
Mal, I'm sure you can appreciate that rep footy, coaching rep footy is vastly different to the week-to-week grind, scrutiny, pressure, training, managing players is vastly different NRL as far as rep coaching.
Yeah. Prepared for that? Absolutely. You learn your lessons along the way, but I've been in that environment for a long period of time, and in recent times, behind the scenes as well, so not in front of it, but understand the enormity of it all, and I believe I'm up for it. So and love to prove a lot of people wrong as well.
Have you appointed a staff as yet?
No, we're sort of at the foundation, building its pillars. Making sure that whatever we build is sustainable.
What about the move to Perth? It's a long way from Canberra.
Yeah, it's a lot warmer.
Mal, is there anything stopping you from going after players now? Can we expect some signings?
Oh no. Like I said, I think small steps. We've got to find a sell proposition. We go into business well. We've got to have a sell proposition to all people resources that we need. So I think that's really important. We need to understand who we are first.
Anthony, what's the presence of someone like Mal going to do in a new market?
Sorry, mate, could you repeat the question?
What's the presence of someone like Mal's CV and calibre as a player and coach going to do in a new market?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, it's obvious that Mal is an immortal of NRL, but I think it's important to note that, he's an immortal of the national sporting landscape as well. It's a name that everybody knows in Australia and internationally as well. Mal was part of the Australian identity. So, we're incredibly honoured that he has taken up this opportunity. Like Mel said, it's small steps. We've gone from one bear in me to two bears in Mel.
A big bear.
So, we've doubled our staff, right, overnight. So it's small steps, and I genuinely feel like the very first thing we need to do is make sure we listen and appreciate and respect the legacy of the North Sydney Bears, but also the legacy of the fans in WA, who also, they've got a proud tradition as well. They've kept the candle burning for decades, and we need to marry those two things together and make this a huge success.
This franchise, have worn a couple of bullets before it's been kicked. Does that tell you you're doing something right?
It's a good question, and I'll probably say yes. I mean, normally if you're doing something right, you have a few critics along the way. Look, I've long thought that you have to ignore the noise and you can't let external voices be a measure of internal markers of success. Look, all I know is I've been totally blown away by the amount of messages that I've had from people that want to get involved in the Perth Bears, and that's, you know, everything from corporate sponsors to fans to people wanting a job. So I have, you know, I'm very optimistic that this will be a huge success.
Spending so much time in Perth, have you always been a rugby league fan?
Look, I fell in love with the game when I was at the Daily Telegraph, deputy editor of the Daily Telegraph, and I've been a huge admirer of the game since then. You know, obviously you take on those director of news roles and editor roles and you get very good at the basics in a lot of things, but you don't get to become an expert in lots. So look, I've got some work to do in terms of understanding every facet of the game, but I'm ready to do the hard work, to roll up my sleeves, to listen to people like Mel. And what I do know is Western Australia and West Australians.
Do you have an idea yet of what kind of persona is going to appeal to sports fans in WA? Like, do you go for a hard persona, like a tough team or anything like that?
That's another good question. Look, I think at the end of the day, West Australians love sport. And, you know, we may say that it's an AFL state, but West Australians also love soccer, they also love basketball, they also love hockey, and they're going to love rugby league. You know, West Australians are very interested, excited, and play a hell of a lot of sport, and that's something that we can't wait to tap into.
Anthony, there are detractors in the media in WA. How do you combat that?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the West Australian is doing what all tabloid newspapers should do, right? Which is create provocative front pages that get people talking. At the end of the day, it'll be up to the Perth Bears to earn the respect of the daily newspaper and earn the respect of the sports pages, so that the Perth Bears, you know, deserve to be alongside the coverage of the AFL teams. And if we're a success on the field and if we're a success off the field, then we should be in those sports pages. And if we're not, the only people missing out will be the readers of the newspaper.
Andrew, can we ask about the Australian job? Why did you want Mal just to focus on the Bears and not continue the Ashes?
Look, the Commission has long held the policy that the Kangaroos coach shouldn't be involved in coaching clubs as well. And so that policy is going to continue. And as Mal said, this is a full-time job and it's about building a team from the bottom up. It's exciting, but it's going to take a lot of hard work. So the focus on the club is one thing, but also Commission has an existing policy around not having a existing NRL club coach, also Kangaroos. So those two factors were important in that decision making.
Have you got a timeline on when you might announce the next coach? I think it's 5 months away from arguably one of the biggest international series in recent memory.
We're all very excited for the end of the season tour. It's been a long time in the waiting. And of course, we've got a World Cup next year. So first things first, today was about announcing Mal as the Perth Bears coach, and with that now secured and finalised, the Commission will turn its attention to the right candidate for the Kangaroos.
Any front runners in your mind? A couple of names that he mentioned, Brad Fittler, Cameron, a couple of very famous Australian names.
Yes, they are.
Andrew, is this the last deployment the NRL will have for the Perth Bears, like the NRL mate? Or the others of the NRL?
Yeah, the Commission will work with obviously the Western Australian government and finalise the board. So the board of the Perth Bears will be announced, and there will be obviously then over to the board and Anthony as the CEO and Mal as the coach in terms of further announcements around, you know, the makeup of the team. And ultimately, it's theirs to build now.
How far are we away from, we're assuming it's the Perth Bears the name, but how far are we from logos, jerseys, that sort of stuff?
Well, as Anthony said, you know, they've just doubled the workforce overnight. A lot of hard work happening behind the scenes, and I'll leave the Perth Bears CEO and their team to make those announcements in due course.
How long's the deal now?
3 years, 3.5 years. Yeah.
Now, with that 3 years, and you said little steps to put the preparation in place, and you see it as a legacy job.
Yep.
Do you have an assistant or a successor in mind?
Again, small steps. So, I mean, I've been in the game long enough to understand who a succession may be, but I haven't really had time to think about it, to be honest with you. I've just been working with Andrew and Peter and with Anthony around securing this job first, and this is the first step. This is part of, this is the bottom rung, and from here on, we hope to achieve plenty over the next few months.
Is it tough to give
I don't think it's an important part of, or we don't have to rush into succession plans or who may be the assistant coaches or who may be on staff. I think we've talked about, we need to understand, who the Perth Bears are going to be before we even think about, looking at where their staff may be.
I was just going to ask you the timing of the Ashes tour and the fact that you've played such an important role in international football and moments that have helped you become an immortal. Are you disappointed that you're not going to be?
No, I'm excited. I'm excited about the new job. And I'm satisfied with the job I did with the national program. So I'm really comfortable with the fact that I'm moving on. I'm really comfortable with the fact that there's another challenge in my life. So I'm getting to the twilight of my life. So there's another challenge there for me. Like I said before, I consider this an honour and a responsibility, and it's a bit of a legacy piece for me. So I'm out to prove that I can do it.
Mal, do you have an opinion on what is the most influential appointment you need to make, i.e. a GM of footy? I know you can
all those. I think it's important. Anthony, obviously the board. I think that's really important. Who the chairman's going to be, and we have this great relationship. Then obviously the GM of football becomes an important part of that. Recruitment intention manager. I think we've got already an established pathways and development program with the North Sydney Bears. There's some things there obviously we need to help out with and support. So like I said, most positions in the club are going to be important. So what's important is we take our time and get the right people in those positions.
Andrew, is there any suggestion of dispensation salary cap-wise for Perth Bears? No. So we've been really clear. Contracting of new players will take place from November 1, as with all the other clubs, and there won't be any exemptions to the current salary cap configuration for this or any other expansion franchise. It was the same with the Dolphins. It'll be the same with the team from Papua New Guinea as well. We're obviously considering a broader review of the salary cap, and that will apply equally to everyone if there are any changes in that. I'll also clarify, just in terms of the question, the Commission has been really focused on making sure expansion is successful, and subcommittee of the Commission, the Football Committee, looking at these key appointments, whether it be Mal or the assistant coach and the GM of football. So we want to make sure that, and the Commission want to make sure that the club is set up for success, and then really it's going to be an autonomous standalone club treated at arm's length as the same as every other club, with no special treatment or salary cap dispensation.
Will that be the same thing, Andrew?
Yes.
And can I just ask about the Rugby League's bid to be part of the Brisbane Olympics? Can you give us an update on what that could potentially look like?
It's just incredibly exciting, because the Olympics here in Australia and in Brisbane in 2032 is the eyes of the world upon us, and why wouldn't we want what we believe is Australia's biggest sport, and certainly the biggest sport in the Pacific, to be showcased to the rest of the world. So having the first step is to get International Rugby League recognised as an IOC member or affiliate, and then is to work with the local organising committee to lobby for our sport to be included. And there are a number of avenues in which we're going to do that, and we're going to put all our energy into doing that, because again, why wouldn't we want to showcase an important part of not just Australian sport but Australian culture to the rest of the world?
Andrew, there's going to be a lot of recruitment going along, a lot of contract changes and stuff in the next few years. In light of what's happened with Lachie Galvin, could the game more broadly start having those conversations about what could be done to prevent a lot of that mid-season drama from taking place?
Look, I've expressed my views on this on a number of occasions. I think that there is a better way for contracting to work. We need to work through it with all the stakeholders, the clubs and the Players Association, and ultimately find a way in which we can have a system that balances the competing needs of players and clubs. And that's something that we'll work on, and hopefully have a better outcome for than we have at the moment.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, everyone.